Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, on this beautiful Thursday morning. It's actually raining, it's overcast, and it's a little bit cooler than it's been. But it is beautiful because today we see the beginning of the end of the SNP. It puts a song in your heart and a smile on your face. We go about our business, uplifted, firm in the knowledge that the end is nigh. But the business of politics elsewhere goes on, and we have one particular story which we've semi-covered before, which is all to do with Falkirk Council. Those who may remember, they are trying to cut the hours at which children are schooled because they quite literally don't have the money. They're trying to make a big saving, and basically not educating children seems to be the way forward for them. This must be resisted, because if they get away with it, it will be the blueprint for every other local authority to do the same. And already terrible education results in Scotland will get just that little bit worse. Not the best thing. Also, of course, it buggers up parents who need to sort out childminding hours and things like that. So we'll take a look at this story now to see why so many people are resistant to the change. Here goes. So, Falkirk Council, Labour MSP, takes concerns over the school hours cut plan directly to the Scottish Government, and well done for her. Political pressure is continuing to grow on Falkirk Council as it considers reducing school hours in a bid to tackle a £62 million funding gap. Labour MSP, Monica Lennon, has now written to the Scottish Government Minister Jenny Gilruth about her concerns about Falkirk Council's proposal to reduce the learning week. Now, what's old Spinning Jenny going to do? She knows that they need to do it. Knows the council need to do it to save money. On the other hand, she has a little bit of a budget to play with, which she can give some extra money to the councils. But the way she's done it, she's chosen to do it, is to only give it to councils who add teachers. Well, the problem is the amount she's giving, whilst it may pay for a teacher, it won't make a big difference in the grand scheme of things across the whole council. The amount she wants to give isn't enough. And of course, that's just one local authority. You've got to think of all of them across the country. She just doesn't have the cash. If only the SNP spent less money on independence matters and more money where it needed, perhaps Scotland wouldn't be in this kind of position. It is a problem for her. The trouble is, of course, Jenny Gilruth hasn't got a clue what she's doing. You'd think her being a teacher, she might, but alas, it was not destined to be. The local authority is currently consulting parents about its plans to close schools at 12:30 on a Friday. I love the way they use this, consulting parents, meaning, okay, we're going through this pointless exercise of asking you what you think about it, but the decision has already been made. That's what consulting means right now. It would mean primary school pupils losing 2.5 hours and secondary pupils just under 2 hours of education every week. Because that's what you need, isn't it? Less education. Because if you can have less education, Scotland will thrive. Or something. In her letter, Miss Lennon told the Cabinet Secretary for Education and Skills, "I am concerned. I know many families in my region are about the potential impact reduced learning hours will have on pupil learning and attainment, and the additional cost for families of childcare if the Friday afternoon closure is implemented without proper mitigation plans in place." Of which, of course, there are no mitigation plans. They haven't got a clue. They just need to stop. Surprised they're actually going at that, not just saying, well, we'll just finish on Thursday evening and take the day. She adds that many concerned parents have raised their concerns around equity with other children across Scotland and real concerns around a drop in attainment. If you don't teach them, they won't learn. It's as simple as that. The Central Scotland MSP has asked what action the Scottish Government will take in light of this to ensure that the proposed cuts do not go ahead. Cash. There you go. That's the only action. Give them an extra bit of money. You know, what else do you want? There is literally no other way of dealing with it. She also asked Miss Gilruth if she agreed with the previous Education Secretary Shirley-Ann Somerville's statement that any measures that materially reduce the number of hours children spend learning in school would be expected to reduce pupil attainment and well-being and undermine efforts to close the poverty-related attainment gap. Yeah, I mean, they talk about, let's lift children out of poverty. Let's close the attainment gap. And what are your policies going to do? Well, they're going to make families poorer because they have to pay extra in childcare, and that attainment gap will grow because we're just literally not teaching the poor children. Rich children don't mind. Oh no, they go to private schools and they get an excellent education, etc. Or they go to schools in better areas, richer areas. Better's a pejorative, isn't it? Richer areas, more affluent areas, where, because of the higher council tax take, more money goes in and they've got these things. Falkirk Labour councillor Ewan Steinbank added the previous Education Secretary stated in 2023 that any reduction in school hours will lead to a reduction in attainment and undermine efforts to close the poverty-related attainment gap. Falkirk Labour will not vote for any measure that would potentially damage our young people's education. The SNP must now see that their chronic underfunding of local government is now incompatible with their supposed focus on education and step up and provide fair funding for local governments now. That's going to cost. They haven't got the cash. And what do they define as fair funding? It's a complex one, isn't it? The SNP government has already told Falkirk Council that any plans to cut education hours will not be acceptable, and has said that if necessary it will take steps to prescribe the number of hours made available in regulations, and thus meaning that if they fail to provide that number of hours they're in breach of the law, although nobody will ever go to prison for it. Until that changes, nothing's going to change, is it? Falkirk Council had intended to press forward with the changes starting this August, but it was warned that the Cabinet Secretary for Education that it could not do so. Presentations to parents have highlighted the need for education to make £40 million of savings over the next 5 years. £8 million a year. Well, how many teachers? Glasgow's doing it. They've sorted that problem out. They're firing 450 teachers. Good start, isn't it? Your kids are going to get a great start in life, watching as nobody's teaching them, coming out of school, dumb. It makes you wonder what goes through their heads, doesn't it? Anyway, there's been a huge backlash against the proposals, with local councillors saying they have been inundated with comments from angry parents, while a petition has more than 3,000 signatures. Falkirk Council has stressed the changes are not final and had been brought forward to open a dialogue with stakeholders, including parents, carers and the pupils themselves. Don't ask the pupils, they'll also, yay, go home early Friday. No. Parents, teachers, that's all that matters. It's also warned that if the huge changes are not made, there will be direct cuts to staffing and to services. Parents and carers are urged to make their opinions known through the survey on the Falkirk Council's website. Heads must roll. Basically, they made to make the number of hours a legal obligation, and the person on the council who is responsible for education must be legally held responsible for it. And that way, if they fail to do it, jail. That'll make a change, wouldn't it? Now, the good people, the good people of Falkirk have an opportunity on the 4th of July to send a message. You know what to do. Vote for anyone other than the SNP. And when local authority elections come up, again, vote anyone other than the SNP. And then come the Holyrood elections, anyone other than the SNP. Send a message. These are your children. They are destroying your children's future. Don't let it happen. How can you possibly sit there, watch your children's education fail, and still go into a booth and go, yep, they're failing my kids, they're taking the future away from my kids, but I'm still going to put an X in the SNP box? What kind of idiot are you? So we'll round that one there. I'll come up, we'll finish the video. But yeah, I mean, you can't risk children's futures like that. But anyway, coming up. Any local authority which targets the education of children as their priority for cuts needs to go. The parents need to be up, they need to be angry, and they need to ensure their kids are A, where they say they're supposed to be, in school, and B, getting educated. It's a cold, hard world out there. Don't handicap them by failing to educate them at the start. You've got to push the kids as far as they can. Scotland's reputation for education is falling fast now anyway. It is plummeting down league tables, and this kind of thing will only make things even worse. It is, of course, perhaps what the SNP want. They don't want bright population. They don't want a population that question things. They want a placid, agreeable population who don't question things, who do as they're told and never understand that things can be different. So in the SNP's view, dumb people, good. But it's not what parents want. Anyway, we'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And I will speak to you later. Bye.